child because it's a good thing to do, or perhaps we're not able to be what we would call birth parents. And now, as you know, there are a number of adopted children who in adulthood, or perhaps adolescence, express real interest in finding their birth parent. Not because they're not grateful and don't love their adopted parents, but for understandable reasons of curiosity, information about heritage. There's also physical value in knowing who your birth parents are, in terms of possibility of genetic disorder or perhaps genetically inherited disease. That's the negative part. The positive part is who among us wouldn't want to know who our birth parents are? I guess the correct answer to that question might be some of us. Whether or not you want to find your parents is up to you. There are organizations now which are helping people find their birth parents. And as you can imagine, it's a rather an emotionally trying experience. Can we say at least, I don't want to say anxiety. It must be, there certainly have to be some nervousness involved. How would you feel if your adopted child expressed interest in finding his birth parent? Would you feel threatened? Does this mean that your child is leaving you to go back to its birth mother or father? These are interesting questions, and they call upon the integrity, the courage, and the sensitivity of all parties concerned. I want you to meet 4 people who are involved in this kind of drama. How do we begin? Let's first we have Carol and Ruth Clinkscales on the left. You were married for not 100. Seemed like 100 years, didn't it? No.
You mean before we adopted?
Yeah. No. The total.
Yeah, the 28 years.
You were married for 28 years. Mm-hmm. The point must be made that you are now divorced.
Yes.
And you have our admiration for the civility with which you have maintained your relationship following
We're good friends.
Yes, and it's clear that you are. You're also very, very sensitive and caring people, because you are here to share with us your experience of having your adopted daughter find her birth mother. How am I doing so far?
Right.
Okay. I'm talking too much, but I'm trying. All right. Let's see. How old, your adopted child, Mary, is here. Lael. Lael is here. Lael is next to you. How old did Lael express to you interest in finding her birth parents early, or how'd this happen?
Well, there were several times when she was growing up that she said she would like to know who her mother was. And I told her that when she got older, we would find out. I said, someday we'll find out when you're older. Mm-hmm. And then just recently, she got where she was almost obsessed with it.
Right.
And so I decided that she needed to know.
I have to get how long have you been divorced?
5 years.
5 years. Mm-hmm. Did the curiosity, how old are you, Lael, may I ask?
Oh, 28.
You're 28, okay. I assume you had moved out of the house.
Yeah.
Okay, but throughout her adolescence, she wondered about her birth parents?
She wondered, but it didn't seem to be a great curiosity. She just would ask every once in a while.
Now, when she was asking you, did you know who her birth parents were?
I knew her mother's name, and I knew what town she was from, but I really did not know her.
I see.
I didn't have any idea where she was.
Okay. How did this all begin to unravel then, Lael, for you? Incidentally, may I ask you what your adopted mother said that you had an obsession with this, or it began to become intense for you?
Mainly when I had my little boy. When I gave birth to him, he looked so much like me. Baby pictures and all, I knew there was someone out there that had to be my mother, had to look like me. So that's when I really became obsessed with it. I just had to find.
Now, how old were you at this time, Lael?
26.
So this is 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what'd you do?
Talked a lot, cried a lot. Didn't do a whole lot for the first couple of years except wondered. And yeah, and then I saw the show about the Concerned Birthparents.
Oh, you saw our show? Uh-huh. We're very, very pleased to be a broker here. Yeah, and you saw the organization that assists people like you in finding their birth parents, huh? Mm-hmm. And you contacted them?
Yeah.
Okay, and?
Well, they were real nice, and they gave me an organization named Triad in South Carolina. Uh-huh. And I called them, and we talked, and it wasn't a whole lot, we could do right then. And then time passed, and in November, it was just getting to be so emotional for me. And
November of '78, would this be?
No, '79.
Last November?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
last November.
okay.
And just every day I was constantly saying something. And Mama said, well, if you really want to know, she said, I know her name.
Mama here?
Mama here. This is Mom. This is Mom.
I know. We can't keep it a secret. Let's meet your birth mother, Mary Palermo. Thanks for being here. You can applaud them all. Wow. What a deal, huh? Life's toughened up, huh? Okay, we're ahead of ourselves here. Boy, this is... How did you get her name? Oh, you always had her name. But you did not give your daughter, your adopted daughter, that information.
No.
See, Phil, may I tell
you? Sure.
At the time, Ruth worked for a couple of attorneys, and one of the attorneys' brother was a doctor, and it's through the doctor that we adopted Lael. So Ruth had access to the name through making up the papers, the adoption papers.
I see. Okay, and...
So we knew her name all along.
But there was no information regarding her whereabouts on this these
No,
documents?
I knew where I could find it,
I see.
but I had not looked into it.
Okay. All right. So you gave your
I
adopted
told her
daughter...
her name, but I did not tell her I knew where to find her.
All right. You said to your daughter, your mother's name is Mary Palermo. True?
Yes, that wasn't her name, but her name was something different at the time.
We had her maiden name. We had Hazelton was her maiden name.
Hazelton. Oh, I see. So which is probably more useful, huh?
Yes.
For the sake of investigation and so on. All right, so you had her maiden name, Mary Hazelton? It could have been, that's kind of common.
Yeah.
Okay. But you had no geography, huh?
Well, we knew she was from a small town right outside of Charleston. Mama had that information. I always knew that, but that was it.
Okay, so in the interest of getting to it here, what was the big breakthrough here? What happened in terms of discovery?
Mama saw an advertisement in the paper saying there was a restaurant opening, and the owner was Mary, and it had her name, had Mary Hazelton Palermo. And Mama was just, dumbfounded. Now, this was like 2 years ago, right?
Just by accident you saw that?
Yes.
And so there she knew where
You got
I
huh?
tucked that away in my mind until I was ready to use it.
It's like there's a divine hand working
Right.
here, huh?
We
Okay,
feel that.
so, all right, now your daughter's 26. She has her own child. Your adopted daughter is 26. She has her own child. And you clearly understand her interest in finding her birth parent, huh?
But I'm still not ready to tell her.
threat.
And tell us why you weren't ready.
I think I was threatened. I don't know why, because I should have known that she loved me and that there was nothing that could be taken away from me. But I did have a feeling that, this was somebody else moving in on my territory, and I wasn't sure I wanted her there.
That's very honest of you to share those feelings. So
it took me
intellectually,
a
you're
while.
doing real well, but in your gut, you have a little...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it took a while, and when I finally decided that I had to tell her, because so many things were happening that she really wanted to know, and I knew that if I didn't tell her, she was going through some agency and probably find her and maybe approach Mary in a way that would embarrass her. And I wanted to talk to her myself and be sure that she was ready to meet Lael.
You wanted to meet her
I
birth
wanted
parent
to
before
talk-
your
yes.
adopted daughter did. Okay, and you did?
I wanted to talk with her and find out whether or not she wanted to meet Lael.
Yeah.
And she did. So-
What did you do? Did you go over and knock on it? Did you go to a restaurant?
No, I went to a little shop where she worked, and I asked her if she would come outside and talk with me.
How did you find out the shop where she worked?
Well, that was in the newspaper. I read a lot.
See,
Are
this
you
was like
kidding?
This was 2 years later, right? And it was in the newspaper advertising the beauty parlor. And this time there was a picture of her. And see, too much was happening. This is when I was this is after I'd called
Yeah.
Concerned Birthparents.
Okay.
I figured it was time for me to tell her then.
All right, let's talk with Mary now. Mary, this attractive woman comes in
Wonderful
and says what?
She came in and she says to me, may I use your phone? So I says, of course. I was sitting at the desk doing a crossword puzzle, and so she dialed a number, and she hung up. She says, you're the lady from the restaurant, right? So I said, yes. She says, you're the lady that's adopting the little girl, because I'm adopting a little girl. So I said, yes. She said, could you come on the outside? I'd like to speak with you a second.
You were adopting a little girl
I'm
at the time?
adopting a little girl now.
Right
yes.
now, okay.
Yeah. So,
Excuse
she's
me,
19
and you
months
knew
old.
she was adopting a little girl. How'd you know that? Another ad?
I'm nosy.
Okay,
I talked to her in the restaurant one day, and I saw the little girl and thought she was her grandchild. And I said that, and she said, no, this is my daughter. I'm adopting
oh,
her.
you already scouted her then?
Yes.
As a patron in her restaurant? Okay, all right. Okay, so she says, I hear you're adopting a little girl.
Right. So I went on the outside with her, and she said, Mary, I want to ask you something. Are you going to tell your daughter, the one I'm adopting, when she grows up who her parents are? So I said, her mother. So I said, oh, yes. I says, in fact, adopted is going to be a word she's going to be grown up with, you know. And everything I get from her mother, which I know the mother, I will save for her when she gets grown.
Yeah, that's very sweet. So right now, she's legitimized herself to you, hasn't she? I mean,
Right.
you're impressed with that.
Right.
Okay, so now, who
So
wants to
then-
do this now? You want to?
I told her, I said, well, you know, I really have some strange feelings about this because I know that my daughter is going to find out one way or another, and I think it would be better if I helped her find out. And Mary said, yes, I think that you should. And she said, why do you not want to tell her? And I said, I don't know. And she said, do you feel threatened? And I said, yes, I guess that's the word. And she said, well, you should feel that the person whose child you have would be so grateful that she would thank you and she would never try to come between you and that child. And she said, there's no way she could do it. So that made me feel like, well, she was a pretty nice person.
Were you standing on the sidewalk at this
We
time?
were standing outside my beauty parlor
Yes.
door.
Oh, okay. No, okay, now when did you drop the bomb?
And so then we talked a few minutes longer, and I almost walked away. And then I thought, no, if I do this,
Excuse me, but didn't you think this was a nosy woman?
I had mixed feelings because she kept talking. She says, you know, I says, my oldest daughter, she's really wanting to find her mother. What do you think? I said, well, why not, you know? So she kept talking, and all of a sudden, you know, it got very quiet and felt like the blood was coming through my ears. My heart was pounding. And I said, oh, God, could it be? You know? And both of us got very quiet. And she says, Mary, does March 16th?
Oh, they don't cry.
we always cry when you say this.
I threw my arms around her.
Don't, you know, y'all gonna get me crying.
Okay.
I don't cry pretty.
And so you had to get yourselves together then
Right.
and decide what you were going to do.
Because I had not, this was something I carried all these years with me.
Yes. You carried all these years the curiosity about where is my daughter, how is she okay?
The thought of never talking about it. I talked to about two people. A very good friend of mine, Sherry Southern in New York.
A shoulder for you, huh? Someone
Yes, because she was adopted.
Yes.
And the mother of the baby that I'm adopting.
I see. That in itself is important. Do you talk about it? With whom do you talk about it?
It was
It was good to talk about it, though.
Oh
huh?
yeah, but it was.
But it's hard, huh?
It was a nightmare. Now, it's very touching. I can't get enough looking.
Oh, it's terrific. Now let me. Okay, so you finally.
So within 20 minutes after I threw my arms around Ruth, she and I was facing one another in one another's arms.
20 minutes later, we got Lael.
And you went to the beauty shop?
No.
We went to her house.
I asked Mary said, when can I see her? And I said, well, in the meantime, she had told me that her family did not know. So I said, well, whenever you can come and not cause any problem with your family. She said, give me 20 minutes. So I said, okay. So I went home, and Carol was visiting for Christmas at the time.
You're divorced at this time?
Yes.
Well, Carol's visiting.
Yes,
Boy, this is some story, I'll tell you.
last Christmas. Yes.
God, you know, well, you hear so much about the rancor of divorce. So Carol's just what? You know, you're serving coffee in the kitchen. And
He has
yeah.
two daughters in Charleston, and he came to see me.
Okay, so he's there. All right.
So we were visiting, and I went home and told him about it, and I called Lael, and I said, can you come to my house in about 30 minutes, or do you want us to come there? She said, I think I'd rather come to your house.
Did you tell her why?
Oh, yes, I told her why.
Well, that's a bomb for you on the phone. You get this
Yeah.
Okay. So what'd you do? You probably, how do I look and all
No,
that?
first thing was, what should I wear?
Like that made a lot of difference.
Yeah.
And my
So you
reaction
went-
says, oh my God, how do I look? You know, that's why I pat my hair.
Yeah. So you went over. Who got there first?
Mary
you were
and I
there.
I
got
was
there
in a state of
first.
shock, totally in a state of shock.
Yeah, I'll bet you couldn't
Oh,
talk.
I'm,
It
you
must have
know.
been something. Huh? So you walk in.
Yeah, Mama had my little boy over there, so that kind of broke the ice. You know, he came up to me.
This
and,
mama.
Yeah, this is Mama. And I looked at her and I said, hi.
You looked at Mary.
This mom and said hi. And we just hugged and sat down and just stared at each other for a long time. Because this was someone, I looked like her. To me, I looked just like her. And
Yeah. Isn't that something? We have a two-shot there. You got it. Yeah. Look at that.
and I just really feel like, you know, we really look alike. And like you might can look at your son and you can see
Yeah.
each other. But besides my little boy, I never had anyone I could look at to say, that's my relative. you
Yeah.
know.
What a wonderful story.
You know how I feel? I feel that God placed her in their care until he was ready to bring her to me.
What do you think? We hope you'll join us. Donna Nevis. Donna, at the age of 1 year, was, as you understand it, and you didn't have a whole lot to say about it at age 1, you were taken away from your mother by your father.
That's right.
And this happened in, where, Texas? California?
Yes, Texas as far as I know.
Okay. The circumstances, without giving us all the detail, we're talking about adoptive parents and the attempt to discover their birth parents. All right, you were removed from your mother's home by your dad. Apparently they were having their problems, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Where were you taken?
I was taken to the Bay Area in California.
Where you
and-
grew up?
Yes, that's where he met the mother that raised me.
Okay. Now, as I understand this, Donna, your families, that is to say, your father's people and your mother's people, as is true in so many cases, really didn't get along.
Right.
The Hatfield and the McCoys, huh?
Right.
Okay. So that all communication is broken, and you as a child are really victimized by this, in that you grew up really never knowing your mother.
That's right.
You're now 26 years old, and just recently, is it just 2 months ago?
Yes.
Okay.
I count the months.
Okay, it's 2 months ago. Was it your mother learned your whereabouts? Your birth
Yes.
mother?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. How did you know she found out where you were?
Well, I had received a letter from her, which was really exciting. I'd almost gotten in an accident when I realized
Yeah.
when I realized who it was from, so I had to pull over and finish reading it.
The letter came to your attention while you were in the car?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad you pulled over. And the letter, essentially, it just said, what was the gist of the letter? Dear Donna, I'm your mama? What?
Yes, she said, I'm sure you're probably going to be very surprised when you read this letter, she said. And she was, I can't think, she was just telling me that she was sorry that she couldn't get a hold of me any sooner, but that she would explain at a later date if I could ask her for forgiveness, which was a little silly, you know, because all my life we've been looking for her, well, not in a real deep way, but so.
You did bring to your own your adolescence and adulthood an interest in knowing who your mama was. Is that right?
Yes. There was some authorities that were looking for her at one time, so that I could move in with her, and nobody could find her.
I see.
And my stepmother did everything she could to try and get us together, and we went to the Red Cross and all kinds of people looking for her, but
To no
didn't
avail.
work.
Right. I understand that your mother discovered your whereabouts through your grandmother. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you feel that your grandmother was just old enough not to care about all this rancor, huh?
Yes.
In other words, she kind of violated the family rules of no communication.
As far as I know, yes.
God bless Grandma, huh?
Oh, sure. I love her.
But you are in Aloha, Oregon. I assume, I don't know, you're a working woman or you're a...
No, I'm at home with 4 children.
Okay, so in other words, you don't have the biggest budget in the world, huh?
You got it.
All right. Your mother's postmark, your mother's sent you, where's your mother living at this time she writes you her letter?
Port Arthur, Texas.
Okay. You obviously called her then, did you? Did she send your phone number or what?
Yeah. Well, I got her through information, and there was no they had the wrong number, and I kept calling and calling, and finally I had called a radio station, and they got a hold of a newspaper reporter, which went over to my mother's house, and then they told her, and they started flashing all kinds of lights, and she called me on the phone, and it was really exciting for her.
Oh, well, what's the radio station? We ought to give them a plug.
Uh-oh.
All right, well, in Port Arthur?
Yeah, close around Port Arthur.
Okay, we'll remedy that, I promise. So you talked on the phone then?
Yeah.
And she sounded like happy,
She sounded
excited?
really sweet. She was excited, yeah. And she just kept saying, I don't know what to say. Do you look like me? It was really neat, you know.
You must have had that curiosity, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I had one picture of her, my mother that raised me kept. She had to hide it from my father in order to keep it. But she kept it for me, and it was a really pretty picture. She was in a nice cowboy suit and just really neat.
The letter that you received from your mother arrived, as you say, I guess less than 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you have not yet met your mother.
No,
And what we are going to do is provide you with that opportunity.
Yeah.
You've given us your permission to do this, and so has your mother. And after you meet her, we'll give you a chance to have some privacy, okay?
Yeah.
We thank you for this. We want to be sensitive about this, and we don't want to be exploitive. As you must know, there is entertainment value in seeing this kind of reunion. Our purpose is not to take advantage of anyone or to invade anyone's privacy. Our purpose is to show the country that there are millions of, I don't want to say millions, there are certainly untold thousands of people who, like you, have curiosity about their birth parents, and that reunions can happen without threatening past relationships or in any way undermining the love that I know you feel for the caring people who raised you. We're going to break now, Donna, and I'm going to ask you to leave the studio because we want to meet your mother and chat with her before you meet her, okay?
Okay.
Are you okay?
Yeah, bye-bye.
We'll be back in just a minute. Mrs. Kirksey is Donna's birth parent. And how you doing? You all right? Let me see now. You wrote to her.
Yes,
And you got the information from,
from her grandmother.
that is your ex-husband's mother.
Uh-huh.
Of all people, huh?
Of all people.
I mean, from the other side of the fence, so to speak. I don't want to, all right, we don't want to tell the folks, you're entitled to have the details of the difficulties that your family's had not be made public. But it's important at least to establish that this kind of separation and anger and all the things that sometimes happen in families are the underpinnings of the difficulties that we have here that make it so difficult for people to find their birth parents. Okay. You, of course, remember that day when your husband left with Donna.
Yes, I sure do.
I guess you were having your problems, huh?
Yes, I sure was.
Okay, I feel like Jack Bailey on Queen for a Day. Remember that show? Okay, she goes, and I suppose at the time you probably felt, oh, well, it'll be a week, huh?
Well, I thought maybe that he would let me know something, you know, that I would hear from him. But when he walked out with her, I never saw or heard it from either one of them since.
Well, where were you at the time he left? What was it?
In Texas.
Okay. Now, so you spent, I think you went on, your life went on, and I think you remarried, didn't you?
Uh-huh.
And you always wondered about Donna, huh?
I always wondered what happened to her, and...
Her name didn't change, did it? It was Donna the name you could give me?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. How old is Donna? I'm not sure we asked.
She's 25.
Okay. Were there ever any, what, if any, attempts did you make to find her?
Well, I didn't know how to start. And then after I had all the, my children, well, I felt like I had to wait until, well, my youngest daughter was out of school before I could, if I did find her, where I could go to her. And another thing, I didn't know whether she would really want to see me or not.
That's an understandable feeling. What were some of the curiosities you had? Obviously, you wanted to know about her well-being.
I often wondered how she was getting along, and if she had graduated, or if she had married, and if she had children, and if she was happy, and
You must have wondered what she looked like, too.
yes, and she sent me some pictures, but in small pictures, you can't very well tell what a person looks like.
But when you finally connected on the telephone, you both realized that you didn't have the money really to immediately...
We didn't have, neither of us had the money to go to the other place.
And Donna has a friend who's with us who apprised us of this situation. This is very nice of you. Wilma Brown, you wrote us a letter, and it was your letter that called our attention to this situation and gave us the opportunity to effect this reconciliation. Obviously, you live in Donna's neighborhood in Aloha, Oregon.
Right.
Okay. In your relationship with Donna, did she often talk about her mother?
All the time.
Really? Tell me.
Ever since I've known Donna, since 1973, she's was raised by a stepmother, and so was I. And I've always had empathy for her. My mother died when I was 3, so there was no way of knowing my mother. But Donna talked so much of her natural mother and wanting to know what was she like, where was she all right, and did her mother really love her? That was her basic concern. Did her mother really want her? Did she care for her? And we discussed this so many times, and this was the topic of Donna's conversation of wanting to find her mother.
And then Donna probably came to you first to tell you that she'd received a letter from her mother, huh?
Well, her mother wrote the letter, and she was on her way out to the store, and she had the children run to the mailbox and grab the mail, and they came in, they stuffed it in the glove compartment of the car, and she forgot about it. And it was almost a month later.
That explains what she's doing reading a letter in the car. A month later.
A month later, the same daughter opened the glove compartment while they were driving and said, "Mama, there's a letter for you, and it's from Texas." And at that point, she opened it and just tore it open in the car. And next thing I know, she had stopped the car, ran into my office, and was hugging me, and tears were streaming down her face. And she says, my mother, read it." And she handed it to me.
You have never met her.
No, I haven't.
This must be a wonderful moment for you.
It is.
Okay. So then you wrote to us.
Yes, we had been at a special meeting for Jafra Cosmetics. I'm a consultant, and Donna was with me, and a couple of the other consultants were talking, and they said, you know, this is such a marvelous story, and people spend all their time watching soap operas to see things happen like this that are written by script writers. So wouldn't it be a marvelous thing if someone would actually reunite these two people together in real life? And I thought that's a great idea. The only thing you could say would be no. So I wrote to several stations and to several different ones, and I got negative responses saying that we're not interested, we can't handle it. And then I got a call from your producer while I was working at Accent, and here we are.
Well, you're okay. We're happy. Well, you're beautiful, and so is she.
Thank you very much.
And I'd like you now to meet your daughter.
Okay.
Okay. Donna, would you come in for us, please? Okay. Give it yours. We're just gonna... Okay. You okay? Hi. This is your daughter. Isn't that something? Isn't she beautiful? Huh?
She's beautiful.
Isn't she good looking?
She's beautiful.
We shouldn't be surprised. Well, we're very grateful for your giving us this opportunity to play peekaboo on a moment that really is probably best reserved for privacy. We hope we're excused for this invasion by certainly good for us to see this kind of joy, especially in a world of today's headlines. We're going to give you a chance now to go and chat with each other, and we're going to also, while in your absence, we will be talking with a woman who is very much responsible for an organization that is helping, we finally got the tears, didn't we? That is helping people like you all over the country, if not the world, find their birth parents. And we'll be back in just a moment. The founder of Concerned United Birthparents. We can only, you certainly must have been an adopted child, huh?
Certainly not. I'm a birth parent. I gave birth to my first son when I was 17 and surrendered him to adoption.
I see. So you're the panicky, frightened, pregnant teenager then?
Yes, sir.
At the time. Who had no interest in marrying the young man?
We were seniors in high school when he was born, and his mother took charge of the situation and separated us, and I had no communication with him. He didn't know that he had a son until 12 years later.
No kidding. You mean your parents told his parents probably, huh?
He told his mother that I was pregnant, and then she took charge of the situation and called my father and said he had denied paternity. And I was very angry with him and then had no communication with him.
Yeah. What's important about this kind of information is that it's common, isn't it?
Yes, it certainly is, yeah.
Don't embarrass me in front of the neighbors. This is a scandal. My God, what'll the neighbors think? Let's put this under the rug. And in the process of the cover, the child and the mother get separated.
Yes.
Is that simplistic?
Oftentimes that is the case.
Okay, let's go over some of the basics here. There's 1,000 questions here.
Right.
You found your son, huh?
Yes, I did. We've had a relationship for the past year and a half.
What's your geography? Is it?
Well, I've just recently moved to New Hampshire, and he also lives in New Hampshire, but on opposite ends of the state.
And how are you getting on with his adoptive parents?
Fine. And he also has a relationship with his birth father.
Really?
Yes, he's gone from being an only child to the oldest of 5. 2 boys from me and 2 sisters.
And he went from 2 parents to 4?
6. My husband and me, and his birth father and his wife, and his adoptive parents. So that's 2, 4, 6.
Wow, that's 6.
But we aren't parents. His parents are his adoptive parents. We're really good friends. That's our relationship.
Go over that again for me, because what you
His
said.
adoptive parents remain forever his parents, his nurturing, his caretaking parents. Tom and I, his birth parents, are his friends.
Isn't that hard for you to say that?
No, it's wonderful.
Because the alternative is not to know who he is.
Oh, exactly. I'm thrilled. As is Tom. It's just been wonderful.
Did you facilitate the reunion of his father?
Yes.
That was a very loving thing for you to do.
It was difficult, but I love Michael that much. I would do anything for him.
I assume that in the process, you had to effect your own reunion with the father of your son.
12 years after I'd given birth to Michael, I heard about Adoptees searching, and I found him, and sort of as a preliminary to preparing him for something that I felt would be inevitable. And
you found who? You found his father?
Yes.
In other words, in the business of finding your son, you felt it important to find his father first?
I felt that I needed to discuss with Tom the situation because we'd left things hanging in such a strange place.
Yeah.
And that I felt in order for him to be prepared for what I felt would be an inevitable reunion, that he should know, number 1, that he had had a son, and number 2, that I felt the reunion would someday happen, and that perhaps he ought to start getting prepared for that kind of thing. How did he feel about it? Yeah. You know, could his family handle such a thing?
How did he feel about it?
He wasn't ready to deal with it at that time. It didn't become really real for him until after I had been reunited with Michael and shared a picture of Michael with him. And then he stopped running, and he faced all the ghosts in his own past, and he was delighted and really anxious to embrace him.
The father of your son probably married.
Yes, sir.
And is married today.
Yes.
And has a family.
Yes.
And a dog. And
yes.
a station wagon with wood on the side. and
a cat. Yeah.
And a wife who didn't know about this.
He told her that he may or may not have fathered a child who may or may not have been placed for adoption. It was all very nebulous for him.
But in any event, this is no picnic for him, sharing this information with his wife.
That I had told him that
that telling his wife that he may have fathered a child prior to their marriage.
It was
I don't mean to make it World War III, but it's an emotional experience for him, huh? We are at least to understand his hesitance in...
Oh, I certainly do. I ran away from the experience for myself for the first 10 years. I couldn't face it. It brought so much pain to me that I certainly tried to run away from it for the first 10 years. I surely understood where he was coming from.
Okay. I can't get over the enthusiasm with which you pursued this with the father of your son. I mean, that's something, you know. You did it...
But I understood. I really became a mission for me to understand. It wasn't something that I thought would ever happen. And then when I realized that adoptees did have needs and did want to know, wanted to have that kind of connectedness, then I really wanted to understand it. And I read volumes. I cut out newspaper clippings. I attended adoptee meetings. And I really understood that much as I would like Michael's reunion with me to be the be-all and end-all, that he would not be complete until he knew his paternal roots as well.
Okay. This is really unfair because we're under the gun of the clock here. But you have founded Concerned United Birthparents, CUB, as your acronym.
That's correct.
Give us the shortest speech you can for those who are out there saying, this is for me, my God. I mean, what's the story?
It's very natural. I would like them to know that it is a natural thing for a birth parent to want to know what has happened to his or her offspring, and for the adoptee to want to know from whence he or she came. And I would certainly encourage them to write to Concerned United Birthparents. We are not a search organization per se. What we are primarily is a search and advocacy group for parents who have surrendered their children to adoption. They have no other forum in the United States. We give them social space.
How do you find these people, though?
Well, what we do is, if someone wants to search, if they feel that they are ready to search, we will put them in touch with other organizations around the country. Yesterday's Children in Chicago is one. ALMA is a national organization based in New York with chapters everywhere. Orphan Voyage based in Colorado with chapters everywhere. There's a whole network across the United States that we help these people plug into.
What's the best information to have if you're trying to find your birth parent or your birth child?
The best information to have is a date of birth, an accurate date of birth, a place of birth, and the court of jurisdiction, if known. The court of jurisdiction is a difficult thing to ascertain. Sometimes the adoptees can get it. Most usually it is denied birth parents. But those are the basic kinds of information from which you start. Most people don't know anything other than their date of birth and their place of birth.
What's your lobby in regard to adoption agencies? What kind of changes would you like to see?
Enormous changes. One with choices for people. Right now, someone who is considering adoption has to sign the same kind of contract that everybody else signs. There's no individuality there. It's a perpetuation of a system that needs to be challenged. Adoption is a very sacrosanct institution. It's much like the Catholic religion was 2 decades ago. Nobody would dare peek into it and say that there might be some problems involved. They wanted to keep it as it is. And I think we have to take a look at the people involved and the people who are hurting because of the secrecy.
The adoption agency would... Okay, we'll be back in just a moment. The address of Concerned United Birthparents, CUB, is Post Office Box 573, Milford, Massachusetts, 01757. Milford, Mass, 01757. Leave that up a little bit, Ronnie. 01757 is the zip, all right? That's Post Office Box 573. One more time, this is not a research agency. This is an agency that will help you. These are people who understand how you feel. We're with Lee Campbell, who founded CUB. The adoption agency could understandably say that to provide access to information regarding the identity of birth parents is to create all kinds of problems, not the least of which would be for example, adoptive parents would want to have some protection from the invasion 2 years later of the mother who said, I was drugged, I didn't mean to, and my husband, the father's father was angry with me. How do you respond to that?
If the adoptive parents want to enter into a closed adoption, then they should be matched with birth parents who also want a closed adoption. This is what I mean about an individual system. We receive many letters from adoptive parents who would love to be in communication with the birth parents, who would love to have some kind of a sharing relationship. And I see no reason why, if both people want it, that they can't have it.
Yes.
I think the child should be maybe 18 or 21 before they could handle a situation of two parents. I mean,
How do you feel about that?
I feel it's up to the people involved. That may be true in some cases, but I certainly would not generalize and say it was true in all. Again, individual.
The reunion we saw here earlier, you're saying is happening all the time, isn't it?
Yes, I came armed with figures this time. I was on your show last
Yes.
May, and
Yes.
it was said that my reunion was unusual because it was a good one. And when I knew I was coming on the show, I got on the horn and I called groups around the country and I said, give me some stats, you know, and so if you just bear with me. Orphan Voyage in Massachusetts in the past 3.5 years has affected 400 reunions. Of those 400 reunions, only 12 were rejecting. That's 97% success ratio.
Rejecting, meaning one
The
of the other...
birth parents or the adoptee who was
Said, "I don't wanna
contacted,"
see him.
That's correct. So that's a 97% success ratio. Alma in New York has been affecting reunions since 1971, a 97% success ratio. Warm has only had 9 failures out of 312 contacts. Yesterday's Children has had 3,000 contacts and only 5 failures. This is certainly the common.
This week I received my birth mother's address after a 25-year search that I did on my own. But now I need someone to talk with her because she has children who she does not want to know about this. And I need someone who would talk with her and ask her what I can do next.
And you're here accidentally today?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you can help her. Yes, you are.
We certainly can help her. My name is Donna of Yesterday's Children, and you could come to us, and we help not only in support but also in search. So if you are searching, please contact Yesterday's Children in Evanston.
Make sure you don't leave without getting her name, and we'll be back.
And we also act as an intermediary.
And we'll be back in just a moment. Donna Nevis on the left has met her mother, Ethel Kirksey, for the first time, really. She was a year old when you left your mom. You didn't have a whole lot to say about it then. You're now 26?
I am 26.
Yes. So this is a 25-year... Well, you look wonderful.
Thank you.
And I guess it's an awfully corny question, but I know you feel well. And it's awfully... You must just stare at each other at the outset, huh? Well, what do you say? It must be very difficult to communicate at a time like that, huh?
Well, we just made sure she was okay. She made sure I was okay.
Yeah. And now the questions will come, huh? Thousands of them. There are some other reunions that you should know about. Mrs. Kirksey, I'd like you to meet your son-in-law. This is Cliff Nevis. This is Donna's husband. Donna, I'd like you to meet your half-sister. Have I got this right? This is Darla Harrington. This is another of your mother's children. And one more time, do you want to give that birth parent? I have never been so totally drained after a program. I'm going to sleep for 4 days. Would you stand up just one more time, Lee? The address again is Concerned United Birthparents.
Post Office Box 573, Milford, Mass. 01757. 573. Okay.
We thank you very much. We know that there are untold questions that we haven't had a chance to ask. One point should be made here and repeated, and that is that adoptive parents, while you were kind enough to share with us your honest feelings about it being ambivalent about whether or not you wanted your daughter, Lael, to meet her mother, her birth mother, Mrs. Clinkscales is here to say that it worked for you, and Mrs. Campbell is here to say that it works for almost everybody.
Can I say, I've also met my birth father, and it's a good situation, too.
And you feel better, and there's some comfort in having that information.
I've now got 7 sisters and 4 brothers. And
that you never knew about.
well, one of the sisters is one of my adopted sisters.
We're happy for all of you. We thank you for letting us share this very personal part of your lives, and we wish you a life filled with happiness. And I hope you have a nice day. Goodbye, everyone. It's the one...